And yeah, let's get started with this.
Welcome to the Hospitality Chat podcast. My name is Mehdi Rahman, and we have our host Matthew Drummond-Poynter and our friend and guest and editor slash the backbones and spinal cord of our team, Daniyal Khan. I know that's a bit of an intro, isn't it, for
Hello.
you?
That
He's
is
got he's
quite
got
an
three
intro.
titles there.
I know.
Nah, that's a bit. It's a bit much for me because I know I don't consider myself half those things. But it is what it is. You give me that
He's,
intro.
he's lying.
I'll
That's how
roll
he
with it.
introduced. That's how he introduces himself at all team meetings. He also
Yeah.
refers to himself as
Nah,
we.
nah. That ain't it. That's not what I'm about. I'd rather not say it like that,
He's gaslighting us hard here.
I know.
bruh. That's okay. All right, we need to focus back. Let's go.
I mean, fair enough. I mean, with the good compliments we have to you, man, Daniel, it kind of is part of what you consider a good form of hospitality. We want to make you feel welcome. Even though, despite you being the editor, we want to make you feel welcome. I mean, the good and thing is, it's related to our topic we're talking about, which is good customer service, how important it is, and how to deliver it. And I think that's the thing nowadays. It's like customer service is now more important than ever because considering the digital atmosphere and wasteland that we're in, I would think you want to make sure that you're not saying the wrong things. You don't want to give people the wrong impression. And also for restaurant owners and hospitality um, establishments, you want to make sure your customers feel very happy, very calm. And you want to make that customer service to be that bridge connecting between the business and the consumers themselves.
Building that kind of relationship takes time though, so like you want to be like very open with them. You want to be completely like straightforward with them and kind of like maintaining that kind of like professionalism and calmness towards those customers. That way it will eventually develop into customer loyalty, and that way it will help to like expand your business, because having a bunch of like it's really hard to get like new customers to be attracted to you, but it's a lot easier to have those existing customers that are maintained and that have a sense of loyalty to your business. It makes it a lot more profitable and a lot easier to maintain that than to try and post like advertisements or trying to get more like new customers coming into your business.
Yeah, I mean, you want to. Oh, sorry. You want to? Oh, sorry, Matthew. You want to?
I was just going at absolutely. Loyal customers are the backbone of restaurants in particular because they add like this kind of like reliable revenue stream, which is great because as opposed to like having like a fluctuating thing where one month you may not make enough to pay your bills, another month you may like make tons. It's just a lot easier for your bookkeeping. Also, loyal customers are great for advertising your business through word of mouth. That's just kind of all I wanted to add it onto there.
Yeah, what you said. I think it's about how you also develop that loyalty between the businesses and the customers themselves, because you want to build up that kind of revenue that your customers are willing to spend. You got to give them a sense of incentive. To say what would you want to bring for the customers that came from the first time round to come back the second time round. Whether it's through the use of discounting. For more visits you have like almost like a stamp card treatment, you would say. For every time you order something you get like you stamp on there, say like a form of loyalty card, if you'd say something similar to that, on the levels where for every purchase you do they will get discounts for every visit that they come through.
Yeah, no, I mean that's an excellent way of kind of like providing like customer service, I guess, in ways that people wouldn't really like consider. I think a lot of people think of customer service as just kind of to do with like talking to customers, and that is incredibly valuable, and it kind of like plays a lot of like the underpinning of like winning customers over emotionally to get them to be loyal customers, as opposed to just trying to go down the logical route, which you need to win both a customer's emotional and logical side in order to like make that sale. And also it kind of like fosters those kind of emotional feelings of loyalty. But yes, kind of like loyalty schemes, discount cards, all that stuff for your established customers. They're all excellent methods of customer service, which can kind of like incentivize them to keep coming back and back and back.
On the opposite end, you could have like bad customer services can drive away customers. Like usually you'd have like one instance of like an employee just mouthing off to you saying like, well, why are you not doing this properly or something like that, that one experience could drive away a lot of customers, because a study says that 60% of customers that have reported that kind of like negative customer service experience, they've stopped doing business with that brand altogether. So it's really important for the businesses to try and get those employees to be as calm and professional as possible with the customers. Otherwise, it would just drive away both your business and your customers at the same time. It's not a great way to kind of like just like maintain that kind of like business with customer service experience.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And also, it also provides an excellent method, actually, while on the subject of driving customers away, of dealing with kind of complaints, actually, and mitigating the damage done by customers having complaints. Good customer service can kind of mitigate the damage that would be done by a complaint or something being delivered wrong on the service. And in fact, 67% roundabouts of kind of like customers leaving your restaurant and such, like, apparently by statistics, is actually preventable by if your customer's problem is resolved within that first interaction that they have with you. So that's kind of like, and dealing with complaints is an important aspect of customer service, and it really can kind of mitigate like the damage done to your company's image and the amount of customers who are driven away by your business as a result.
And not only that as well, and similarly to like say the customer's having a negative experience, yeah, you also got to make sure the people in your team are able to provide the customer service by looking after your team equally. Because when when like disagreements among your team members or tensions is rising on the team members, it's better not to blow up in front of everyone to see customers. That's also a big turn off for, like, if they're being rude to their own employees. I can imagine how it would feel, or if I was going to get that treatment as a customer. It's just such a big turn off when, like the employers kind of like demean or actually give a hard time to the employees. It's like for example, for me, it's the biggest turn off, I think, in terms of like, like it's like it kind of gives like it's almost like little insight, the true insight to the business itself, rather than just being nice and fuddy-duddy, with the customer service alone. It's all about the interactions between employers and employees as well. You want to show that interaction is much more nicer and cleaner than you think.
Right, yeah, I mean, and also if they're like being like hostile and confrontational to other staff, your customers, if they have like a problem with their meal, they're probably not going to like report that to you then. They're not going to say like, oh, my steak's a bit too cold, could you fire it up a bit or something like that? Because if they've seen you blowing up at your staff, they're going to make the calculation that you'd probably blow up at them too. So they'll just bottle it up and then you won't hear about it until they leave a negative review, and at that point the damage is done to your restaurant. Meanwhile, and you're robbing yourself of the chance to have the customer like complain about it to you in the restaurant so you can fix it and turn the situation around.
You also get like restaurant owners and stuff like that going on like reviews and just kind of like bashing people, trying to like insult them and stuff like that. And that just kind of leaves like a negative taste in your mouth with like how you feel like the customer service would be like when you go into that restaurant. So it's better to be like a very like professional with your customers in general, whether it be on reviews online or on person, kind of like waiters and waitresses and stuff like that, rather than just kind of like just blowing up on them on like internet, trying to roast them or trying to like do stuff like that. It just doesn't seem like a really like it just doesn't seem like a good like positive kind of like brand that you're trying to push with your restaurant or like other like brands and stuff like that. So it's better to keep a very calm, professional kind of like outlook when it comes to customer service.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've talked about this before on the website episode. I think we talked about the role of the website in restaurant promotion, and we talked about reviews like in such a very big detail. I mean, if you just kind of like like you said, bash your, like your customers in a way, yeah. I mean, we've seen dreadful reviews. I mean, we've read a couple of them, and they're like horror stories, and usually no one takes up their time of the day usually to write a review unless they really have strong opinions. It's often, I think, for me, from reviews, it elicits such a strong reaction. People, it's such a reactive, but it's also very an active participation to your kind of like restaurant experience, I think, rather than being passive just by eating but never coming back. But this is like an active participation to, you know, how you view the restaurant and whatnot. And these are customers who are willing to say that, even if they can't say it in person. But like I said, the internet is there forever, and one little hint of that information of your restaurant being like this here, you can't hide it. Usually, like I said, the internet, like usually I would say is, well, it is a true in the sense like the internet is there forever for everyone to see. One mistake could cripple your chances forever, and that's why you have to always make sure that your standards in hospitality and also in crisis management as well as conflict resolution, you have to make sure you're always staying on top and always trying to work to the customer's emotional side. I think that's the best way to kind of like, you know, to have that sense of attachment and also that connection with your customers. And if you invest in your customer experience here, there's like research shows that companies that invest in customer experience will see an employment engagement increase by an average of 20%. And I would speak through my experience as well. Is try to work hard. I also try and make sure that my customers are always my guests are always enjoying themselves when I work in hospitality. So you always want to make sure that you're both the employees and your customers are both enjoying themselves together in the service, because it's like you're just working for the sake of working, but you can't really you want to make sure that you pull off the best hard work as you can. And sometimes it's not about working like do so many tasks at once, but it's rather making sure your customers enjoy the experience at the restaurant whilst maintaining such efficiency and standards to make sure that they have everything they want, through the food being on time to drinks or any other requests that they may need, and not to argue about it.
It's also like you need a lot, like when it comes to like recruitments of those kind of like employees and getting them kind of like trained up, it's all about trying to get them to be like properly prepared for all these kind of like standards that are expected with good customer service. For example, being quick and efficient, having your complaints done, their opinion matters, and they're having their questions to be answered like all out. You need like this is why it's a lot harder for recruitments to do that, because sometimes they go in half baked with some training and then they just kind of send them to the restaurant as soon as possible. Rather, they should take their time and try to slowly build up their skills in managing different customers, different kind of like people in general. It's like all it is just trying to learn how to properly like work on your social skills and trying to keep that professionalism in like a good like night, like for example like a 9 to 5 like waiter, like you're working shifts and you have to keep that kind of like mentality throughout the whole shift. So you need to kind of like give them a good like proper like training beforehand, because a lot of restaurants kind of just get some teenagers, kind of slap them with like the like suits and ties and stuff like that, and then just kind of like they expect them kind of like go through and easily kind of like serve people and stuff like that. That's why you should always push to train your employees beforehand when it comes to customer service, because it's very much valued in like to the customers itself, and it's valued all throughout the employees as well. Because if you have like a bad experience when it comes to like certain waiters being a bit just kind of like just kind of being snide and like snarky towards you, or not being completely like calm and friendly and stuff like that, then it kind of leaves you like a sense of kind of like disillusionment towards like that place. And you find less customers when you have people like that kind of manning the waiters and waitresses jobs, or like any other jobs that are kind of similar to it, because it will just leave a bad taste in your mouth as a customer when going to that place, and then having been like treated like impolitely and just kind of like swept to the side. So they should really, like a lot of restaurants, a lot of people actually in general you should have that kind of like training in like for a lot of people. Otherwise it really just puts your brand down itself.
I mean,
Yeah.
Sorry. I was just saying a lot more training is now more online due to, you know, a lot of insight training, because ever since the pandemic started, a lot more online based training has been conducted, you know, considering people are in lockdown, but they still want to gain employment. But a lot of the training's been moved online. It's much more easy to do considering you can't go into the workplace and travel who knows how long and to do the training for the restaurant. And not only that, and in terms of like, you know, training as well, you can put a lot more hours into coming a few hours before the service starts to even to start your training or do training, I think they have to encourage restaurant owners to do regular training sessions where you have to make sure that even like the people who are most experienced keep going through the basics to understand, to keep themselves sharp, because there's some things they may forget, and it's completely normal to forget, but it has to make sure that your standards keep going high as you're working in the industry, as it is the hospitality industry.
Yeah, on the topic of actually like training, an excellent way that you can make sure that to train your servers to upgrade your customer service is to make sure that your servers actually know your menu rather intimately. Because obviously, I mean, there's a few reasons as to why here. First, and perhaps most pressing of all, your servers need to know allergens information about your what meals have what allergens in them. Obviously, to tell about customers about them if they ask, because if a customer's allergic to something, they're going to ask. Customers may also have other questions about the menu, what's in it. They might have things they're a bit like fussy about, and they might want to ask if the meal has that. They might not be familiar with certain items of the menu, so they might ask your servers about those, right? And also knowing the menu means that your servers kind of can take orders far quicker because they don't have to like read the item on the menu, or the customer doesn't have to like pronounce it correctly, which can be important in like a busy service when it's a bit noisy and some words go unheard. So your server can kind of pick up what your customer's saying because they know all the items off by heart anyway. And there's a couple of excellent ways to do this one. Obviously, the first way is you just like give them the menu and tell them to like revise it like an exam or something. But other and perhaps more engaging ways would be doing stuff like having like tastings or something of your food, giving your employees like discounts or even free items of food on your menu on their like lunch breaks or dinner breaks if they're doing like the evening service or something like that. So they're kind of incentivized in that way to order from your menu, which naturally gives them a familiarity with your food in the process. And also giving your employees free food or discounted food is just a nice way of showing that you kind of appreciate them, increasing their own engagement with their work, which is also going to upgrade the quality of customer service that they provide.
I mean, when you say about taste testing your menu items, it's another thing with by knowing your the flavor profiles of the menu, they can give their own recommendations, say what is really good, and they can like incentivize like say trying new experiences, like especially if it's like a new menu item that a lot of the employees had beforehand before service. They can give their honest opinion, says like it's based off this kind of flavor profile. If you like that kind of thing, you try it, or if you want to try something new, then give it a go. It'd be it makes the recommendations or their service more authentic because they've too are in the similar situation as them where they're trying something new, and they did.
Absolutely, yeah. Long-haired hipster that I am, tend to go to like a lot of like craft breweries and such like, and it's really great when like you ask like the server kind of like what beer they recommend, and they like go these long like diatribes about like the different like flavor profiles of the different beers and stuff they're offering. Which, you know, it's just great. I mean, it's just number one, it's just great to hear, and it also like helps me as a customer kind of like better like analyze my choice and decreases the chance I'm gonna order something that sounds wrong. It's also actually an excellent way of kind of like unconsciously upselling your customers in that way if they do like a really bang up job at like describing the flavor profile of like a dessert or something like that. If a customer wasn't considering buying one before but I asked about it out of curiosity, that might switch them over. So it's kind of like a good example of how good customer service can kind of actually increase profits in that way.
I mean,
And on the topic, yeah, go on.
don't go for it. Sorry, my word.
On the topic of like keeping them on like with desserts and foods and stuff, you don't want to have your customers wait on foods or drinks. That's the one thing you don't want your customers to be waiting, because even though that the quality might be good of the food and it takes time, the customers sometimes won't care that you're working to make the best meal possible if they're left hungry for like an hour. It's really, you need to like make sure that it's done in a timely manner and quickly given to the customer before they'll start complaining, or they'll start just like being more miserable and disappointed by the wait time. Because, and plus it's really hard to win back a disappointed customer. Sometimes you just have to like kind of like deal with what you have for now and not push for it any longer. Otherwise it will just come to a point where they'll just blow out at you and just start being a lot more like kind of just being a lot more insulting and kind of like just like undermining you. And having enough staff to ensure that customers don't need to wait long is a very important thing to have. You need to make sure that your whole team of kitchen staff and waiters and waitresses are just pumping out as much as quickly and as best of quality as they can when it comes to getting food out as well. And a lot of people, and also there's a lot of different expectations for different dishes. So sometimes you have a little leeway there, but at the end of the day, it's better to have a good system in place with your kitchen staff and your employees, like your waiters and waitresses, and making sure that your food will be going out as quick and as best of quality as possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, I couldn't agree more with that one. It's really important. But actually, on the topic of dealing with, I guess, customer frustration, kind of frustrated and kind of aggravated customers are kind of they're one of the biggest challenges for kind of staff in customer service. I think it's fair to say. It's kind of difficult, and handling them correctly without escalating the situation and making it even worse. It is just really difficult. Generally speaking, as hard as it is, kind of keeping a level head and a sympathetic attitude as much as you, the customer service operative here, can sustain, is critical. Though I of course understand that it's extremely difficult to do, because this can kind of provide an opportunity to kind of let the anger burn out. When a customer's being angry and complaining, they're kind of in some ways hoping to get a rise. At the very least, it'll make them angrier when they do get a rise out of it. Meanwhile, if you keep a kind of level head, don't show that it's getting to you. Keep a sympathetic attitude to kind of show that you understand why they're angry. This kind of dewfold approach means that the customer sees their anger's getting nowhere, and they kind of burn out of that one, because anger isn't really sustainable as an emotion, at least at that level. And also, the sympathetic attitude slowly starts to make them realize that you actually do want to help them. This kind of gets them into a point where they can more accurately describe the issue that they're facing, at which point quick and effective action to take care of the particular complaint, be it late food, go up and take a look at that one. Keep them informed if their food's late as well, regarding how much time, because once they're starting to get anxious about that, they will want regular updates. Just to kind of soothe their anxieties in that way. If their food's a bit cold, or they're missing something on there, go to the kitchen and make sure to get that one done pronto. And once you've done that, make sure to come back, tell the customer that we're working on it. Should be there in 10 minutes or whatever. Try to give a time frame when possible, as it kind of helps them feel more at ease. Though obviously, don't promise anything you can't deliver.
I mean, it is important to their opinions matter. That's the one thing. The customer's opinions always matter in terms of they have the concerns, and trust me, they would, when they have their own concerns, you got to make sure that you answer to them accordingly. Don't ignore them. Don't make them feel like they're inadequate in any sense of the way. If something's delayed, you be sure to always inform them of the situation. I rather be in the terms of a customer, I rather be informed of what's going on in the kitchen. If something's wrong in the kitchen and it's taking longer than usual, I'll understand. It's but if you keep everyone in the dark and just giving them kind of this kind of blatant ignoring them, as if they don't have the sense of courtesy, or give them the care that they want. These customers are here for a good time for your restaurant. You have to treat them like every single house guest you'd feel. You want to make them feel welcome. And you always got to make sure that you take into account to everything that they say, because a lot of them their feedback could help with the restaurant in particular. Any feedback in terms of if there's some sanitation measures that are not being fulfilled for the restaurant, or if there's a menu item that is lacking, you would want to make sure that the customers themselves are responded into accordingly, because you're always improving and keeping up with the the area as well, because their feedback this is the community that you're serving to in the end, your local areas, your market, and beyond as well. So you have to make sure that anything they say you have to take into account.
Yeah, conversely though, and I feel somewhat irresponsible for not mentioning this in the initial part, I do just want to say, customers can be unreasonable and they can be excessively rude, and if you, a server, feel that way, and you have a manager who's halfway supportive, escalate it when possible. And this is where you, line managers and such like, can really come in and actually help your servers deliver good customer services, provide that kind of authority that your employees can escalate to when a situation's got too much, or a customer's demand have exceeded like the realms of their authority, or they just need a firm hand to tell the customer they're being unreasonable. It does happen. So yeah, make sure that you have a manager, or if you're a manager, make sure that you are capable of kind of like being escalated to if the situation calls to it.
And look after your employees, because 9 times out of 10, they're the ones on the front lines of these services, but they're also taking a lot of the brunt of the customers themselves in these unpleasant situations. So you got to make sure that any situation happens, you have to back up your managers always. Because I've seen videos online, when you see like about, customers being very unreasonable to, a bit like being like a red herring at times and just kind of giving problems. Usually the servers, the waitresses, the employees tend to be in the wrong end of it and end up, almost like in the sense of being so troubled and getting into like, they feel harmed through the harshness of the customers at times. So you have to make sure that you always, and despite you want to make sure you look after your customers, you have to look after your employees equally, because you can't have one without the other. So
being like flexible with like your deeds and stuff like that is a great way to kind of like help make sure to kind of like give your customers a great way of doing it. And it kind of like coincides with your kind of like employees as well, because you need to be sensitive to if anyone has any like issues relating with their impairments, their gender, their needs and stuff like that. And stuff like, and it kind of like, you need to like make sure that stuff like customers that have different needs, they'll be able to be like, they'll be satisfied as soon as they can. Or if they have any impairments, you can try and help them. For example, if someone is like half deaf, you can have like the boards be like, or if they have like, they're hard to see, you can have them having like kind of like bigger impairments, or like not impairments, bigger like text, and like making sure that they're either able to read or able to hear or able to kind of like anything that like makes sure that their priorities are like completely like they're the prioritized kind of customers. Because it's really hard to really just kind of try and support them, because sometimes it's really difficult with some customers that have like some like some like disease and stuff like Parkinson's and stuff like that. You need to like make sure that they are well tended to and cared for, to make sure that you can make it will be a nice positive way of like showing the customers around you and your like, it'll show your brand that is like a very caring and kind of like a restaurant kind of vibe, if you get what I mean.
I mean, this leads to the employees themselves now. Like, you got to make sure that you have good body language and posturing, and also good and active questioning and listening skills, because like body language, like nodding your head or vocalize what they're, like it's simple, like simple nodding your head or vocalizing what they want, and also helping pointing out particular items in the menu. This is when you can't be very passive as a server. You have to be actively listening. You have to, because if you're like just saying, you just give like generic answers. You want to be very actively involved in the conversation of the ordering, because sometimes people just be like, all right, anything else or anything else. You want to make sure it's like, I do recommend this, or if you want to have something that is similar to the flavor, but if it's, bit cost effective and not breaking their, budget, or for the tonight's dinner, you recommend other items that are equal measure, and you want to make sure that you be an active participant in the conversations rather than just simply taking the orders themselves. And I think as well, when you talk about, people who have certain impairments that will make themselves trying to find themselves struggling in terms of ordering or being part of or for customer service, I think it's ideal to make sure, like we said before, that your customers are always level-headed, and your servers are, sorry. Hold on, clip that, please. All right. So your servers should always
be saved.
Yeah, thanks.
Go on. Sorry.
I mean, sorry, your servers should always, we mentioned this again, but it's always true. Your servers should always be level-headed and empathetic. But you always want to make sure you know where you stand in terms of like, you need to know your limitations. You need to know how much you can't do, but you got to respect what the customers want and what they feel like is the right boundaries. It's also important to set boundaries, but not actively saying in a very rude way or whatnot. It says, I'll help you what you want and I'll be there to support. And that's the best way to go about it. And also, like, just be very quick and efficient when dealing with customer complaints as well. Like, say food is too cold, or there's a like spilt drinks, or there's like a missing, like, say, you know, like how with drinks and there's like, you know, sometimes in terms of like craft cocktails or mocktails and like, oh, I don't taste any of this or any of that. You always got to make sure you actively go back to the bar or the kitchen, address the complaints, and then you kind of rectify the mistakes. And if you solve many of the problems that you have in the customers, they'll feel like they'll feel like they've been taken seriously and been catered so well, they may come back and say, you know what, even though they did some mistakes last night, they did cater to me and rectify a lot of the mistakes that they made. And therefore, I'll be happy to come back to the restaurant to give them a go. Who knows, they may be better. I think it's all about, you have to be very quick you have to be very reactive. So that's why I always say before, just go back and, you know, always rectify, always be quick with solving the problems that occur in the restaurant. And not only that, there's nothing wrong with, for the customer side, just like, there's nothing wrong checking in regularly with your diners, just like for managers or employees, just go around, do a walk around, like in case you're not doing anything, or if you got like even if you're busy or something like that. I don't know if it depends on your manager's situation, depending on the restaurant situation in your restaurant, if it's packed or whatnot. It's always good to make sure you walk around your diners, ask for any feedback or if there's anything they want, anything like that. Because sometimes you want to be very attentive to your diners, always making sure they feel like, you know what, don't hover over it, otherwise it's going to be like it's a bit overbearing. You know, like it's like, oh, they're kind of looking at me funny. But it's always, make sure you always want to look out for your customers, anticipate anything they need, or is there anything they want, but don't hover too around, because that's a bit too weird. Because when you're hovering around them, it's like you're almost like looking at them.
It's a bit overbearing. It'll be a bit overbearing for them.
It's like looking at death in a sense, like, you know, kind of like that.
Death.
It's like, I know,
you're getting death stared by your waiters when you go into a restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh
like
God!
It's like going like this the whole time, bro. You know,
it would have
like,
worked a lot better if you had sunglasses.
I know. I mean, all we gotta do is point my glasses to the sunlight and then tint it up. Now I can look at.
Yeah. It would just be like, you just have like that anime kind of like flicker with the glasses. You kind of like have them kind of like
I'll push it up by the nose.
Yeah, by pushing it up like that. Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of like you don't want to be like the Men in Black who's looking at them every time, you know, just with the sunglasses and the suit. But like,
oh yeah, no, you come in like a suit. You'll be really intimidating to the waiters and waitresses, and you're just kind of like posing towards them, like, give me your feet, like, give me your feedback. You'll get those weird customers that come in like in weird kind of like they'll come in like into some like weird suit or cosplaying. They'll just come in and they'll act like a character. You'll have those kind of customers, and it's always a treat to see them kind of go through the motions of acting like a different character.
It's interesting, but it's like I said, I think it's nothing. It's all about people's lives. I think that's the best way to go about it. We can't argue with that. And I think it's also important for a final thing to say is always give the customers an opportunity to leave feedback, like having, say, after the end of the bill, you know, when you give out the bill and whatnot, you give out feedback cards, say what they think of the service, and ask them to make a note. And when they get at the end of the services, when they pick up the feedback cards and reading through them, it's an important thing for restaurants to know that, oh, this is a common thing by all these comment cards that all these customers have written. Like if it's a common thing, you have a proactive approach to it, and to show that there's a new, improved way of handling it. And I think it's the important thing to end as a message for the end of the podcast is you always got to be attentive and be proactive to solve every problem, because if you just stand around doing nothing, it will end up just brew into something that you don't want it to be. If anything, it will make things worse. So be very proactive in terms of problem solving.
That's just good life advice in general.
I know it is good life advice.
Yeah, it's just like, just be proactive. Don't be lazy. Cough, cough.
Relax, yeah. You better not talk about me. But yeah,
no, it's me. It's me. I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about you. You're good. You're good.
I mean, yeah. Be proactive in your problem solving is the word. And I think that's the way to end it off, man. And yeah, the Hospitality Chat podcast episode 3 is done. So yeah, excited to
Bye
see for okay, relax, yeah.
bye. Well, I'm just saying goodbye. What's wrong with that?
Nothing wrong saying what we can't say to like and subscribe. Click on the bell.
I'm already doing that on the overlays. I don't need you to like yeah like that.
You have yes, I have to because we want to make sure more people come back here.
I know. I already
Daniel.
do that with the. Oh,
I mean, we have to
okay,
actively approach
editor.
it.
Yeah,
Please,
that's the thing,
please
the
tell
tax
me
editor.
this argument makes it onto the podcast.
Nah,
It will. It will. We're people too. We're humans too. Okay.
Remember what we
Alright.
said about not letting customers see arguments, yeah?
Yeah, no, this is some
that
inner
in
employee turmoil. This is some inner employee turmoil. I'm gonna put over here like saves the editor hashtag help the editor. He's in a cage right now. Help me.
No one will save you, Daniel.
No one's.
You're
Anyway,
stuck in the editing booth, Daniel. I better not see you 5 meters away from your goddamn computer.
You don't get
Yes.
any food until you make the next 20 episodes, Daniel.
oh my goodness.
It will be all it will just be conniving laughter from all my
Yes.
employees as they laugh at me
No,
saying you have
no,
to do
no,
your
no.
work.
Look, man, we do not.
I feel the love. I really feel the love right here.
Oh, we do, bro. I mean, the whole video marketing team appreciates you, man, and thank you for being a good guest on the podcast, man. Hopefully,
No
there'll be
worries.
more. There'll be more of you coming soon, man. More of you coming into next episodes.
More
yeah,
of
hopefully.
us. More of
Yes,
us.
more of us.
More of us little gremlins coming off from the crawling underneath.
We've cloned you, Daniel.
Anyway,
Next thing
I
you're
mean-
gonna say you're my father.
oh my god, please no, not the Star Wars memes. Not the Star Wars kind of references. But anyway,
No Star Wars references in the chat, please.
all right. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and click the bell for more videos notifications. And please comment on the videos. We'd like to hear your feedback as well. And to sign off, my name is Mehdi Rahman, and our host Matthew Drummond-Poynter, and our guest and editor / spinal cord, Daniyal Khan.
I don't like this nickname. I
I-
get the feeling it's gonna stick.
Yeah, it will stick. So
Oh,
yeah,
God damn it.
so and this is the Hospitality Chat, and thank you and goodbye.